Hi, hi, hi. Hello, hello. Hola, hola. Espero que todos ustedes se encuentren bien. I hope all of you are finding yourselves well this awesome Thursday. I want to welcome you all into another amazing Chispeando segment. My name is Alexa Espuro. I am the Chispa Digital Campaigns Manager, and I'm super, super excited to have Osvaldo here with me, helping me lead this conversation with an amazing guest that we have today and talking about something really important that is going on in our courts. So we have a lot of Florida representation here on the call, and I'm really, really excited. But before we dive into what's going on with the Supreme Court, the nomination of Ketanji Brown Jackson, I want to get to know each other. Maybe we can do some intros. Osvaldo, si nos puedes liderar, if you can lead through the introduction space, I would love that.
Hola Alexa, ¿cómo están? A toda nuestra comunidad latina, a toda nuestra comunidad de acá de Florida, súper contento y súper feliz de poder estar aquí colaborando, ¿verdad? Contigo en este espacio de Chispeando. Así que nada, hoy vamos a hablar, ¿verdad? Sobre esta nominación que es importantísima. Yo creo que es parte de la historia de lo que está sucediendo aquí en Florida y creo que es importante que se resalte, ¿verdad? Que podamos hablar sobre ella y que podamos también orientar a la comunidad sobre la importancia, el background, ¿verdad? Que tiene en este caso la jueza y también cuál va a ser el impacto, ¿verdad? Que podría causar dentro de la comunidad y un impacto positivo, debo aclarar, para nuestra gente acá en Florida. Así, así que hoy contamos, ¿verdad, Alexa? Puedes hacer ahí, ¿verdad? La introducción y contamos con un gran recurso, mi compañera, coworker, Dibría, que va a estar hablando, ¿verdad? Hoy sobre la nominación y va a poder conversar un poquito más, ¿verdad? Sobre esta parte importante, como les mencioné, de la historia.
Awesome, awesome. Pues gracias Osvaldo por esta amazing intro. ¿Por qué no pasamos entonces a Dibria? Why don't we have Dibria come in and we can start with this discussion, start with these questions that we have set up for today's short 30-minute segment. As we mentioned, Dibria, earlier in our little quick intro, we're talking about, obviously a very important moment in time. Finally, took them long enough, but it's very exciting to see that we are finally nominating a Black woman into the Supreme Court, someone who is extremely qualified, has an amazing, resume, amazing background. She has done so much, has led with justice in a lot of her work, and it's just really, really exciting. But we would like to hear a little bit, from someone from Florida, from a woman in Florida too, what have you heard of Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson, and why are we so excited for her nomination? Specifically, people in Florida having so much representation going on, even someone from Florida and not someone from Florida. Uh, how does that make you feel, and what do you want to share for the specific portion?
So I just want to start off by thanking Chispa for having me on this afternoon. And just as a Florida native, a Miami native as well, this is a very exciting time for all of us. When President Biden announced, that he bore down his candidate choices, his nominee choices to a certain amount of Black women, and Judge Jackson being one of them, it was definitely a monumental time for, people in Florida, people in Miami specifically, with Judge Jackson being a product of Miami-Dade County Public Schools as well. Like, this is just a phenomenal time to be a Florida resident, being someone from Miami, just seeing someone that grew up here and is now nominated to sit on the highest court in the United States. This is definitely an exciting time for all of us.
It really is. And I remember when I was like doing my research on Ketanji Brown Jackson and all of the things that she's done. I mean, she's been involved for quite a while. I remember I was reading how Judge Jackson served with distinction for over 8 years on the U.S. District Court for Columbia, and she even wrote like nearly 600 opinions. Uh, and she's been uh, upholding a lot of legal protections for persons with disabilities, workers, immigrants, freedom of speech, environmental laws and protection. So she's got a great background. She has really come through for our communities. So like you said, it's a monumental time. It's just so exciting. Like I said, it took us long enough, but we're here, we're ready, and it's exciting. It's exciting. Um, and I know you were talking about a little bit about, you being a Florida native, you were born there, and it's cool that, Judge Jackson, also has history there. But I really want to focus a little bit more on that representation piece because that's something that in Chispa we always talk about representation matters, right? Uh, Originally, when it comes to politics, we always like when we talk about stuff in politics, it's like an older white man, right? That's all we see. And it's hard for other people to want to get engaged, specifically thinking of black, indigenous, people of color, the youth, right? We look up out there and we see all that kind of stuff, and it can be a turnoff, right? You're just like, whatever, it's just these older white folks just trying to pass laws, advocating for us, speaking for us. There's no connection, there's no representation. So I would really like to hear a little bit of what you have to say on this piece. Why does representation matter so much, specifically right now that we have a black woman being nominated on the Supreme Court?
Well, when we look at the makeup of our legislation on a state level as well as a national level, it is predominantly white, older male. And we all understand that. So having President Biden recognize the significance of having a diverse candidate be his nominee for the Supreme Court is something that we should all, applaud him for, as well as him even having a black woman serve as his vice president. So this is just a phenomenal time in history for, people of color, specifically black women, to see someone that looks like them be in these high positions. As a fellow black woman attorney, we only make up 2% of the legal field. So to have Judge Jackson be a nominee to sit on the Supreme Court, this is just an amazing time, and we're all so excited for her.
No, that's amazing, and it is an exciting time. And I think to add to more of what you're sharing, I think it also like builds that pipeline. It also pushes other black women, other women of color to be like, all right, like let's get on this. Like I think by her hopefully getting this nomination can really help build that pipeline so we can get more women there, more women of color. That is what we need. So I mean, it's exciting, and I know we're all waiting. We just can't wait for all these hearings and like the day to finally come in hopes of this to finally get done. But yes, representation always matters, and I think this is just the beginning of the start, right? This is only the beginning. It's just gonna get better and better. They need to watch out. Women and women of color are coming in here. We're taking over their space, and we're ready to represent our gente, our community, because for far too long, it's been wealthy and powerful. It's just been all about wealthy and powerful special interests, that have been rigging our system in favor of corporations instead of people. So we're ready to get people who get it, who understand it, who have been in the community, who have these shared and lived experiences, and really advocate for our community and not side with people who are actually hurting our community. So
Yes.
I appreciate you for those comments, Debria. And I know for Chispa, we released this petition around like 2 weeks ago or so, and it was actually urging our elected officials, or urging our community, to just get on board with Ketanji Brown Jackson, urging that we need representation, that we're tired, like we said, right, of putting profits over people and all that kind of stuff. And we know that Ketanji Brown is an exceptional, qualified nominee. And through this petition, I know that we've been, sharing it through social media, sharing it to all of the Chispa states and anyone that we can connect with, our friends, our family, people on the ground. Sign this petition. Let's tell these people that we are ready for Ketanji Brown Jackson to take over in this role and really come through for our communities. Debria, I really want to hear from you. What are other ways that that communities of color and the youth as well, right, as we were speaking of earlier, um, can do to also provide support or help push these efforts aside from the specific petition? And if you have also going on, Jabria, that you would like to amplify or share in regarding this nomination, please feel free to do so.
So I think one thing that everyone can do is just contact their senators. That is something that we've done at Democracy for All Florida, something that we've done at Florida Conservation Voters, just encouraging our membership and our volunteers to reach out to our elected officials and to encourage them to vote in favor of confirming Judge Jackson. She has a phenomenal resume and background, and she brings a shared experience that most Americans can relate to. Like, as I stated before, she's a product of Miami-Dade County Public Schools and then went on to graduate from Harvard and then went on to Harvard Law School. So, she's had these experiences and this profound education that shouldn't be denied. And I feel like as a Black woman, she is receiving a little more pushback than someone that would someone that would possibly be a white male with her credentials wouldn't receive this type of pushback at all. So I think it's important for us to come together and to contact our senators and representatives and to let them know that they need to step up and remove this political bias that they have, and and extend themselves across the aisle and recognize that this is a phenomenal candidate that brings a phenomenal experience, and she can come in and definitely take our country to the next level where it needs to be, along with the other justices that are still sitting on the bench. So I just encourage everyone to sign the petition that Chispa has, as well as reaching out to your elected officials, your senators at the state level, because they are the ones at the end of the day that have the vote to confirm her. So I'm hoping that everyone is taking this time in history very seriously, because this is the first time that we have a Black woman that is a Supreme Court nominee, and it's something that we should all be proud of. And it's definitely showing that our country is moving in the right direction, although a lot of people were not happy with some of the questioning that came about during Judge Jackson's hearings. But as you can see, she stood her ground and definitely did what she was supposed to do, um, and basically showed us why she is the ideal candidate for this seat in the Supreme Court.
And thank you for mentioning just like how the hearings were going, because I remember watching some of them, and you're right, right? If it would have been a white male, those questions, the way they would have, you know, had those discussions and those that space would have been so different, right? But really, because it is a black woman, and that there is those political bias, that did look different. And I love that you're bringing that urgency of like, this is the time that we need to back her up, we need to stand behind her, and we need to show that support so we can really change how things are and start getting more women of color in those spaces, because it's 2022. We should have happened a while ago. But you know what? All right, I'll stop saying that. I'm still like, but we're here now, and I think that's all that matters. And I think it's just so exciting. Um, uh, and I guess with that, we're kind of a little bit wrapping up on this conversation around uh, Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson. But before we pivot a little to maybe amplifying anything that you all are working on regarding democracy in Florida, is there just anything that you would like to add just regarding this specific conversation?
Thank you, Alexa. So, as I stated before, I just want to encourage everyone who's listening to sit down and have these conversations with their families too, because a lot of times we may be the engaged millennials in our families that has to bring, attention to certain things that are going on in our society. And I think by having discussions like this with our family members, with our friends, and even at work, like, that will propel different discussions to move everyone in society in the right direction. You know, having a discussion and really sitting down and pulling back the layers of why, was her hearing so different from hearings in the previous administration when President Trump had nominees go up for their hearings. So it's just basically lifting this facade off of America being like we've come such a long way. No, we actually have not come such a long way. And we saw that in these hearings. So it's definitely time for us to have these conversations, at the family level, at the local level, state level, and even, asking your representatives, when they send back these emails saying why they aren't in favor of voting for this candidate. It's like, well, why not? Like your reasoning for not wanting to confirm her isn't even substantial. And then you look at their history of candidates that they did vote in favor of. So it's really taking a look at what our elected officials are doing and then holding them accountable when it is time for, elections to come about, which is coming up in November, our midterm elections.
I love that you added that last piece, Debria. I was like, all right, you don't want to support Judge Jackson. All right, then I won't support you next election cycle. All right,
Yeah.
you don't want to ensure that we have representation up in the courts. Then I'm gonna ensure that you are not representing me next election term because you don't have our backs. You don't have my back. So I'm not gonna have your back next election cycle. Thank you next them. Thank you next them. No, but I and one more thing that I wanted to also I love that you keep bringing this up of like having these conversations with your families at the family table in your classrooms with your friends because sometimes there's that disconnect. I know I sometimes talk to like uh I know I've met people that they are kind of like political, if we want to say like that. They're involved. Let's just say it like that. You're involved. This is about our lives and about our futures and what's going to happen with them. But they don't like to talk about that with their friends or like with their families. But we got to move past that because that is hurting us and that is dividing us and that is you know, just kind of making us go backwards instead of forwards and really just being open and transparent about how we feel and why we need this why we need this sort of representation or why we need specific things to pass and things like that. So I love that you keep coming back to that because that's just really important. Like yes, organize your community is also your family, your friend, the person next to you in the school bus or whatever. So I love that you're elevating that. And Dabria, before we end today, I really am so happy that you made the time to come today. I know it was a little last minute, but it was amazing to have you here in this space. I would like to also provide a space for you to just elevate just any work that you all have going on in the DFA program, the Democracy for All program, anything that we can elevate, any events, anything. Would love to support, would love to share. If anyone listening can, you know, join anything you all have going on, please, I would love to open it up to you.
And thank you so much, Alexa, for providing this platform and having this discussion today. I think it's very important that we do talk about what's going on in our in our spaces and at the highest level with being the Supreme Court nomination right now. So as far as Democracy for All Florida, we are ramping up our voter registration initiatives and get out the vote initiatives as well. This is a very important election coming up. It is not a presidential election year, but it is our midterm election. So our senators are up for election. Their seats are up for election. Our House of Representatives. So it is important, and local elections as well. Local elections are probably the most important elections that we have. So we are ramping up our voter registration initiatives in Miami-Dade County, Broward County, as well as West Palm Beach. So we're very excited to get our different initiatives off the ground. We are hiring for canvassers and area directors, quality control directors as well. So we're just very excited right now to have this opportunity to get our communities involved in the civic engagement space. That is something that is definitely a goal of Democracy for All Florida, as well as Florida conservation voters. We want everyone to be involved in the democratic process. So definitely follow us on social media, Democracy for All Florida, as well as Florida conservation voters as well.
So exciting! So you're very busy, Debria. I'm glad you
Yes.
made the time to come in through the space because I know here in Nevada, I believe they're launching their DFA program. I think it's today. I'm not completely sure, but wow, you're super super busy. And shout out to you and all of your amazing team for these launches that y'all are doing and this work that is getting started. Because like you said, civic engagement is so important, and it connects right with this whole
Yeah.
conversation that we've been having today. So we'll make sure that we amplify that for folks that are listening now and that will listen later. Make sure to follow the Florida Democracy for All team. They're doing a lot. They're not just getting started. They've been to it, but they're getting started to it again. So that's so exciting. Jabria, any last words or any last comments you would like to share before we close off this space?
I would just like everyone to take time to actually read up on Judge Jackson and her amazing accomplishments. Take the opportunity, if you have the chance, to watch the hearings and see how the line of questioning went, and have those discussions at home and at work and with your friends, and definitely make a plan to get out and vote in our primary elections, as well as our midterm elections this year.
Definitely, definitely. Get ready, wear your comfy shoes, whatever comfortable means to you, make sure you're prepared. Thank you so much, Jabria. It was a pleasure having you in this space and I hope I can have you some other time and you have the time to join us. But with this, we can wrap up the space. I know you have a lot to get going on with these launches and things like that. So again, thank you, Jabria. Super amazing pleasure to have you here, and I'm sure we're gonna stay in touch.
Thank you so much.
Bye, everyone. Bye, Jabria. Thank you, everyone.